Okay, let's just dive right in, because today we're unpacking one of the most fascinating mysteries of our hyper-connected modern age. You know, we live in a world that absolutely rewards and, frankly, almost demands attention. We are constantly surrounded by people oversharing everything, their breakfasts, their vacations, literally every passing thought. But amidst all of that endless noise, there's a very specific type of person who remains completely invisible. You know the ones, the ghost profiles on your social media feeds. So why do they do it? What is actually going on in their heads? Well, in this explainer, we're going to use the psychology of social media behavior to totally decode the minds of these invisible individuals. And let me tell you, what the research shows, it's going to completely flip how you view quiet people online.
Section 1. The invisible profile. Who are they? So, I want you to genuinely think about this for a second. Have you ever noticed someone in your life, maybe it's a friend, a coworker, or a family member, who has an account but literally never posts pictures? There are no selfies, no grand announcements about their life milestones, no daily updates. They clearly have the app, they probably even scroll through it, but they contribute absolutely nothing to the visual noise. It's almost like they don't even exist in the digital space.
Now, society's general assumption is that these people must just be shy, right? We kind of just assume they're antisocial, maybe they lack confidence, or perhaps they're even hiding something. But the psychological reality, it is the exact opposite. Research actually indicates that this behavior isn't random, and it definitely isn't born out of fear. It reveals that these individuals are incredibly grounded and highly emotionally intelligent. They aren't hiding from us at all. Actually, they are operating on a completely different psychological wavelength than the rest of our timelines.
Section 2. Privacy over popularity. Protecting mental space.
All right, the absolute crucial point here comes down to one word: validation. The average social media user is constantly seeking external validation. They're basically measuring the success of their day by the number of likes, the comments, those little digital hits of dopamine that essentially say, hey, you're seen and you're valued. But the non-poster, they operate entirely on self-validation. They possess this deep, unshakable inner security. They just don't feel the need to broadcast their life to the world just to feel good about it. And honestly, that is a massive, albeit really subtle sign of true internal security.
Psychologists actually have a specific term for this: high privacy orientation. Essentially, it means they put a huge premium on controlling what others see and think about them. And this beautifully illustrates that they are not just being antisocial. It's actually a highly deliberate, conscious choice. By severely limiting what they broadcast to the public, they're actively protecting their own mental space. They are literally building a fortress of peace around their personal lives.
Section 3. The confidence core. Inner security.
Now, this brings us to one of my absolute favorite psychological concepts: self-concept clarity. I know, it sounds super academic, but it is incredibly practical. Research shows that people who share less online often possess massive amounts of self-concept clarity. This means they have a crystal clear, unwavering sense of exactly who they are. They know their core values, they know their goals, and the kicker, they know all of this without needing a single drop of external approval to confirm it for them. Let's look at how this actually plays out in everyday life. Because they have that rock-solid self-concept clarity we just talked about, they aren't out there frantically chasing digital trends. Their mood doesn't swing wildly depending on how many people reacted to their new haircut or their vacation photos. Picture someone sitting there watching a stunning sunset, just totally soaking it in, without feeling that burning itch to snap a pic and prove they were there. They aren't looking outside for joy. Their happiness is entirely generated from within. It's like they're their own power source.
And this brilliantly highlights what psychologists call secure self-esteem. It's a type of confidence that frankly just does not need attention to survive. People with this kind of emotional balance are noticeably less anxious. They're far less approval-seeking in their daily interactions. Instead of obsessively curating some digital avatar, they're entirely focused on real-world, tangible goals. They just don't need to post a selfie to prove their worth to you or to anyone else, because they already feel inherently complete exactly as they are.
Section 4. Piercing the digital illusion, the digital trap.
So the invisible profile often belongs to a deep thinker, not a show-off. They're incredibly introspective, and they possess this fascinating cognitive trait known as an internal locus of evaluation. In plain English, it means they are the sole judge and jury of their own lives. They measure their success, their appearance, and their worth entirely by their own internal metrics, rather than the constantly shifting, frankly impossible standards of everyone else online. They think long and hard before they speak, and they only choose to hit post when something genuinely, truly matters to them. Because of this extreme internal focus, they heavily filter how they communicate. On one side, you've got the superficial interactions that make up what, 90% of social media? The fire emojis, the quick, looks great comments. Well, the non-poster has almost zero interest in that. They massively prefer and actively seek out authentic, deep, real-world conversations. They will trade digital shallowness for real-world depth every single time, hands down.
And here is exactly why they make that trade. In psychology, there's something called social comparison theory. It's this incredibly toxic tendency we all have to constantly measure our own worth against other people. But the real danger of social media is that you aren't actually measuring yourself against reality, are you? You're measuring yourself against everyone else's carefully curated highlight reels. The non-poster understands this digital illusion perfectly. They know exactly how easily social media distorts reality.
So what's their solution? They just opt out entirely. By staying low-key, by deliberately becoming that invisible profile, they're actively protecting their mental health from that endless, exhausting cycle of comparison. They're making a very conscious, very smart decision to choose peace over performance. And honestly, in today's hyper-connected world, that is nothing short of a psychological superpower.
Section 5. The real meaning of confidence, redefining quietness. If you take away just one single thing from this explainer today, let it be this incredibly powerful statement. They don't need to be seen to feel seen. Seriously, the next time you think about that friend who never posts any pictures, please do not assume they're shy. Don't assume they're antisocial. Recognize that they might actually just be more grounded, more emotionally intelligent, and vastly more self-aware than the loudest people on your timeline. That quietness, that is exactly what real, authentic confidence looks like. I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on. We've spent all this time analyzing the people who post absolutely nothing. But let's flip the lens back around on ourselves for a second. What does your digital footprint say about your own need for validation? Are you seeking internal peace, or are you chasing external applause? It's definitely a fascinating question to ask yourself the next time you go to hit that publish button. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the psychology behind the everyday.